we're having a yarn giveaway. Welcome back to Katrina's Creations Knitting Podcast. This is episode 71. If you are a returning viewer, thank you for coming back each week. If you're a new viewer, please remember to click the subscribe button down below. And if you click the little bell that's next to the subscribe button, you will get notification anytime I post a video. That's usually on a Saturday. However, when I get a knit crate or tutorials, things like that, if it's something I want to share with you guys, I put something in midweek sometimes. So let's get started because I've got a lot of knitting. I have 2 finished objects and we have a yarn giveaway that I'm going to talk about that's going to begin this week. So let's get started. I've done a lot of knitting this week and I'm not quite sure how I got as much done as I did. I mean, I knit a lot. I always knit in the car, not when I'm driving. When I'm the passenger, I knit. But I've also gotten a lot in the evenings. It just seems like I've gotten a lot faster with some knitting, but I think some of it might be because the yarn I'm knitting with is not as lightweight. Most of it that I've been knitting with lately has been sock weight or worsted weight for the most part. So I think that's maybe why I'm getting a lot more done. I finished my poncho, not to be confused with a tent. If you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, you will see that I posted the picture of the finished poncho, laid it down to take a picture, and the dog laid down right on top of it. It's not for her. It's for me. But anyway, this is the Katia Paint poncho that I've been working on for quite a while. And I will put in a modeling shot, but I wanted to show you something I modified with the pattern. This was supposed to end just with the edging right in here. And I decided I wanted a more finished neckline to it, especially if I'm wearing something light underneath. Like right now I've got a collar, something with a little bit of a collar, but if I don't, I just wanted something a little more finished and I had the yarn to do it. So I actually put a ribbed edging on it, just a neckline, and it goes all the way around. I just thought it finished it off a little bit more. Like I said, I had the yarn to do it. One thing I haven't decided if I want to keep or not, and you'll see it in the modeling shots, is where most ponchos continue the seam, the side seams all the way down. These, they did not. It's an asymmetrical poncho. It's not like triangular. So they actually have your sleeves just joined at the shoulders, and then they have them splitting like a dropped shoulder. And so here's where it splits. I haven't decided if I like that or not. Let me know in the bottom what you think I should do. You'll see it in the modeling shots. Look at it and you guys tell me, should I sew it all the way down or should I leave it with the split the way it is? I think they put the split in just because it's not as cumbersome. So I'm not sure. I haven't decided if I like that aspect of it or not. Here you can see the poncho, and I will stand back here so you can see it. It has not been blocked yet, so it's not hanging down all the way where it would. Let me move up closer. You can see these are the sleeves here that they called be split. I could sew these up this area and then they would hang out more like this. They have it so that it kind of breaks away like this. I haven't decided what I'm going to do there, and the same for this side. If this came down and hooked, it would hang like this. They have it so that it is like this. So I'll get close. You can see this is the neckline that I put on it. And you can see the stitch marker right here from where I finished it. And here you can see the point right here. So that is the finished poncho, not to be confused with a tent. So anyway, you can see, let me find my stitch marker. Here is where I was last week, right where the stitch marker is, and I knit to the end, and of course at that point it is all the way across. So, and I love these smoky tones at the bottom here. So you can see the end part, how far I was knitting across. And this is 2 asymmetrical triangles that you join together. So if when I hold it up, it's sort of triangular, but when you look at the ends, that's where you can really see it, because you can see this is a real, it's a much sharper point than this end is. This is a little fuller this direction. Not a whole lot, but it's just slightly asymmetrical. But when I put it on, the triangle falls for the most part in the center, because that would drive me a little crazy if it was off by a whole lot. I'm not a big, I like asymmetrical shawls, but I don't like things hanging asymmetrically on me. Yeah, I don't know if that's a little OCD or what, but anyway, I like things to look a little centered. So anyway, this is my finished poncho. And again, that is a poncho pattern by Katya. You can get it, it's a free pattern. The yarn is Katya Paint. It took 2 skeins to do it, and I had just a little teeny bit left over, which I used in the next finished object that I have. Now, the next finished object, if you recall, a couple weeks ago I told you a coworker gave me a shawl that she had bought at a consignment shop, and she could not get the smell out of it. It's not an unpleasant smell. It smells like something that was really strongly wool washed or was stored with dryer sheets or something. She and I have both washed it and washed it and washed it, and we cannot get the smell of the dryer sheets. Like I said, it's not an unpleasant smell. It's not an overpowering smell, but she was like sensitive to it, and it bothered her, so she couldn't wear it. So she gave me the shawl. So here is the original, and I'm going to move this up close because it's dark outside. It's only 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but we have a nor'easter headed in again. This would be the 3rd one in like a week and a half. So the skies are kind of blustery and dark. So the background back behind me is kind of dark today. So my lighting is, as usual, not the greatest. So anyway, here we go. But the colors are pretty close. This is the original. It's a very, very basic triangular shawl. Now I'll show you the one that I made. I'm trying not to get them too close to each other because I don't want the smell to wear off. Now I have not blocked this yet. Now I'm assuming everybody knows what blocking means, but just a real quick definition in case you don't. When you knit or crochet something with natural or plant fibers, not so much acrylic, but natural or plant fibers, when you finish, wash it in, just hand wash it in water with a mild either like a woolite or a special wool wash. I've even just used, like a mild detergent. But you wash it and then you stretch the yarn out. And what it does is it opens up your stitches a little bit. It stretches your project and makes it bigger, especially if there's a lot of garter stitch in it. But if it has lace, it actually opens the stitches up a little bit so that you can just see the texture a little bit more. And in fact, I blocked the hitchhiker shawl that I showed you last week that I had finished, and I'm gonna stick a picture of it while it's blocking. I do have blocking boards, but I tend to do my shawls, I hang them in my laundry room, and then I use fishing weights that I've attached, like earring backs to just the wire earring backs, to the fishing weights, and then I hang those on the points, because that's the other thing with blocking, is if it's a pattern that has like points within the lace or like within just the edging and stuff, you can pull those out a little bit more, so it just accents the pattern. So I have that blocking, and the hitchhiker bled like crazy when I washed it. And when I say bleeding, is dark colors, especially the dyes, tend to, when you get them in water, they release excess dye that is in the yarn. And the hitchhiker shawl, as you'll see in the picture, has a lot of purple and dark blue and dark maroon color, like a berry color, and it had teals, and I rinsed and rinsed and rinsed before I finally got all the coloring out. And you might say, well, does it really matter if you don't get all the coloring out? It could if you're wearing it and it would get wet. You would go out in the rain or something. You don't want to destroy the shirt you're wearing it on top of by having, you know, the dye come out onto the shirt. So anyway, that short that turned into long explanation. Here we go. This is again the original. This is the copy. It is pretty close. The only color differences that I have in here are these yellows here. And I did tell her, I said, do you like yellow? Because I said, when I put these together, they just look like a lot of dark colors. I found yarn. The yarn I used for hers was Casablanca by Cascade Yarn. And it is a wool, silk, and mohair blend. This is what the label looks like. I'm covering the price tag because it was on sale. So that's what the label looks like. The original was done out of a wool, a cotton, and a silk. But I did not know the yarn brand. I didn't know the color or anything else. So I actually took this to my local yarn store and walked around the store trying to find a skein of yarn that had all of these colors in it, because they did all apparently come from one skein of yarn. I couldn't find an exact, but the Cascade Casablanca, the colorway was just a number. It's colorway number 12. It was very, very close. The only thing it didn't have in it was the pinks, this light blue. It had some other blues, and it had did not have the yellow in it. When I started putting it all together, though, there was a lot of dark colors, so that's why I put the yellow in. I just dug some, the pink and the light blue and the yellows are some leftover scraps that I had from other projects. And so I put that in just because it needed to be brightened up a little bit. Now, I did a lot of knitting on this week because I do want to be able to give this back to her on Monday. Today is Friday afternoon. So as soon as I finish this podcast, this is going to get blocked. And then I've got tons and tons to weave in. So you can see right here, you can see my stitch marker in between all the yarn ends. Let's see, here it is. Here's my stitch marker right here. I knit down to there. And it is about, I did not count the stitches, but here it is, the width. It's probably about 3 feet across right now, and this has not been blocked, and so I want to show you the difference between blocked and not blocked, because these two shawls are the exact same size as far as the number of rows. I did count it and base it on that, and the size of the rows is about the same. The pattern is exact, but this one has been blocked, and if you look here, see how nice and open this section is. So if I get my hand behind it so you can see it really well. You can see it's open. This one, because it has not been blocked, see some of my holes look a little more uneven. It's a little scrunchy still. This is the right side. It's just a little, you can see some of my holes are uneven with other ones like right in here. But when I block that, that will take care of it. It'll stretch this, because as you can see, it's got a lot of stretch to it. And I block pretty aggressively, so it's going to really stretch in length, and it's going to stretch out this direction. So, and the yellow is not as brilliant as it's showing up here. This is about true to color here. When I move it up here, it looks a lot brighter than it is. So, and she was good with the yellow, but look at all the ends I've got to weave in. Because this was kind of done as a scrappy shawl for the most part, I've got all of these. It almost looks like fringe. This is not fringe. These are ends that I'm going to have to weave in. So I'm hoping to get this blocked right after the podcast, and that way I can go immediately, let it dry, on Saturday, and then Saturday night I will hopefully be able to get those ends wove in to give it to her on Monday, provided we have work, because like I said, we have a third nor'easter coming in. The first nor'easter, I live in southern Pennsylvania. I live just outside of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. The first nor'easter that came in, we had a lot of really, really heavy wind. We got a little bit of snow, nothing like huge, but we got a little bit of snow. But we had such heavy winds that we actually at work could not take the trucks out because they were having gusts of like 40 and 50-mile-an-hour winds. And there was a semi-truck on one of the highways that actually flipped over, and there was a school bus that tipped over because up here in Pennsylvania we had school. Down in the state, I work outside of the state. I work down in Maryland. Down there they closed the schools. They didn't where I live, and yeah. So anyway, it was very, very windy. But we didn't get any snow out of any of the nor'easters. The second nor'easter that came through this last week, we got a couple of little snow spurts, but nothing major. For the most part, it was just kind of rain and icky and cold. It wasn't even overly windy. It kind of just whooshed right on past us. And then apparently just really hit it hard up north further. But we have a third one coming in Sunday night into Monday. So I hope it decides to do whatever it's going to do before I get out on the road on Monday to go to work. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But anyway, that's my goal, to get the shawl done so that I can give it to her on Monday. We can hope. Otherwise, I'll see her eventually, so she'll get it. So I have one work in progress, and this is so exciting. I'm down to like one, well, I take it back. I have 3 works in progress going on, but I have 1 active work in progress. I have a Drachenfels that's sitting on the needles since like last September when we went on vacation and I got sidetracked. I have made that pattern before, so this is my second pattern of it. And I have a sweater, which I want to get back to, but it's just an intense knitting sweater. So I've got to kind of wrap my mind around it because I'm probably about this far in on it. It's cables all the way around. It's called the Barton Cardigan, and I've talked about it before, and I am going to get back to it. So in the next couple weeks, you should be seeing it again. But the only thing I'm actively working on at this point, since I've gotten those 2 things finished, is my Keeping You in Stitches shawl. And this is a pattern I've talked about before. It's one that I've designed. If you would like a copy of it, you can use the coupon code below, and that will give you 10% off. But I am doing this one in a solid color. This is a Cloudborne fiber. It's in the Highland Sport. And I got this, I always get Craftsy and Knit Picks confused, but I'm pretty sure this is Craftsy. If I'm wrong, I'll stick it down below, but I think it's Craftsy. Anyway, this is Cloudborne fibers, and this color is called the Caribbean. And it looks blue. It is not. This is a deep, deep turquoise. And I've made some progress on this since last week too. Here was the beginning section. It has, I believe, 10 sections. So this was section 1, and that's where I had stopped last week. And so I have completed section 2, and I am now almost through section 3. So I'll get this closer so you can see it. This section here that are the eyelets in the actual pattern, it calls for striping. Because I am doing this in a solid color, you would just have like a big solid panel right there, and that would be kind of boring. So I'm doing some eyelet stitches in between my sections, just for the fun of it, just to have something different in there. So that is the other work in progress that I've had this week. Let's see, I have no acquisitions this week, not for lack of trying. I had this flyer come out from Joann's advertising some yarn for $1. It was just like their 100% cotton, like what you make dishcloths out of, and it was 10 for $10. And I was like, oh, this would be good to have. It was their premier cotton yarn in the dishcloth, or in the 100% cotton yarn. Anyway, my thought was, oh, I'll run and get it. It's always nice to have a little bit of yarn that I can knit up into dishcloths to have on hand for like little quick hostess gifts, or, you know, just last minute things because you can whip a dishcloth up in about an hour. So I got fluffies up my nose. I have that happen every week. But anyway, I went to 2 different stores and neither of them carried the yarn. So, oh well, I guess I won't be getting that. And then they were advertising the sweet roll yarn, which is an acrylic, but it's a gradient acrylic. And they were advertising 3 of them for $10. So I was like, yeah, I could do that. That would be, you know, I'm not a big acrylic yarn knitter, but I was like, that'd be ideal for if I make any baby afghans or something, just to have something on hand that I don't have to buy if I can get it on sale and just set it aside. That didn't work out either because I went, the first Joann's I went to, they didn't carry it. The second Joann's I went to, they had it. I had it in my arms, and then I found out that the coupon had, I read it a little closer, the sale didn't start for like 4 days after the day I was there. And it's like, I'm not going back again. So I didn't end up with any acquisitions. I put it all back and left. So that was a little on the disappointing side. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh, I have heard about a new yarn. I have not tried it, but there's several reviews out on it. Red Heart is now making a yarn called Chic Sheep. I'll put it down here so you can see how it's spelled. It is 100% superwash merino, which is like a whole new thing for Red Heart. Red Heart is usually all acrylic yarn. I looked at it online because I wanted to see price-wise where does it fall, and I found prices for it anywhere from $7.99 to $10. That's US dollars. For a worsted weight, it comes in 24 colors, and it is 186 yards or 170 meters per 100 grams. So I did do a little bit of comparison to see how good a deal that is. I did find that Craftsy has basically the same equivalent, a little bit more yardage, and they run about $9.10 for the same thing for your 100% superwash merino. However, with Craftsy you would have shipping unless they're running some kind of a special. So anyway, it might be something worth checking out. If you want to see some reviews on it, there are 2 podcasters who have done a review on it this past week. One is Meanwhile at the Castle, and the other one is Christine Kelly, which does University. And I'll put both of their names up here so you can see if you want to check those out, because like I said, Red Heart is something that's readily available in most of your big box stores, and this is a step up for them from the acrylics, so they are moving in to some nicer yarns. And something to keep in mind that I do from a budget standpoint, I like hand-dyed yarn, but hand-dyed yarn is expensive. One skein of hand-dyed yarn can run you $25 on average for one skein. But if you want to make a shawl, you could do something like this with this Chic Sheep that you can do at a budget price, and then buy one skein of, or even a mini of a hand-dyed yarn and put that in as the accent. So you can still have some hand-dyed yarn to have it something that's unique without spending a small fortune to do it. So just a thought that I would throw out there. I did want to talk about, last week I had thrown out a question about crochet because one of our knitters, well, one of our submissions into the sock along was crocheted socks, and I know like next to nothing about crochet, so I had asked, how do you do ribbing with crochet? Because I mean, obviously I could see in the picture that she had ribbed ankles on the socks, and so Mo S., I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right or not, but Mo S. on my Ravelry group replied to that, and she explained it has something to do, you that are crocheters will totally understand this, it has something to do with going into the front or the back loop, that's what creates it, and I think it's with a single crochet. That part I understand, in going into the front and back loop, but because I've never done it, or maybe I've done it and didn't know I did it, I'm not sure. But anyway, if you want to see the actual like scientific making total sense explanation, go over to the Ravelry group, Katrina's Creations, and scroll down to her reply in the sock along, and you will see that you'll see what she says. She gives a much better explanation than I'm ever going to be able to give to you to how it works. So yes, you can crochet socks, and yes, you can do a rib stitch for the ankle. So thank you so much, Mo, for replying to that and answering my question, because I know stuff about knitting, but crochet is, I like the looks of it. I really want to sit down and play with it a little bit. I'm more of a visual learner, so I have to, if I looked at a book, it's hard for me to understand, but if I watch YouTube videos, that I do better watching somebody else do it. I can pick it up easier. So I might have to try that. That might be in my future. However, I do know how to do Tunisian crochet. And somebody had asked me about that a while back, if I knew how to do it or if I would do anything about Tunisian crochet. So actually next week I am going to do a short Tunisian crochet tutorial just for the main basic stitch. There's lots of stitches that are out there that go with Tunisian crochet, but I'm just going to teach the basic one and tell you a little bit about the history of Tunisian crochet. So that will be next week on our video. Now in our show and tell section, we have Bev has some things that she has submitted. So I want to put those in first. She did a corner afghan. In other words, you start at the corner, you work out, and then you go back in again, sort of like a giant dishcloth type of pattern. And I've done that type of pattern for like baby blankets and things before, but hers is doing a striping pattern, so it's really pretty. So I'm going to insert a picture of that. And then she made a crumb quilt. Now I had to go and Google what a crumb quilt was, because I had never heard of that. I do quilts, but I've never heard of a crumb quilt before. And I was looking at her pictures and I was thinking it looks like what I remember being called a crazy quilt. So I did a little research, and a crumb quilt is very, very much like a crazy quilt, except a crazy quilt you do the entire top at one time, where apparently a crumb quilt is done in blocks. So it's like small blocks of crazy quilt, and then you attach them all together, all those blocks together. So there's two pictures of that. And at my mother's house, she has like a cedar cabinet. There is actually a crazy quilt in there that was made by my grandmother's mother, so it'd be my great-grandmother, and it's made from all different materials from her daughter's dresses, which her daughter, my grandmother was the youngest of the daughters. So I have no idea how old the crazy quilt is. It's just the top. It was never finished. She just did the top section, and it's only big enough for like a baby crib. But it was, like I said, my grandmother was born in 1909, and she was the baby of the family. There was like 3 or 4 sisters that were older than her, that were almost adult when she was born. So I'm guessing that the crazy quilt might have been from the turn of the 1900s, maybe a little bit after that. But it's made from all different material scraps that were left over from her daughter's dresses. So it's kind of neat looking. And it's like turkey, I think it's called a turkey stitch, where how she attached, I mean, they were hand sewed, and then there's like a, if I remember rightly, there's like a turkey stitch where all the fabric strips are connected. So I haven't seen it for quite a few years. But the other thing that Bev sent in was a picture of some rainbow colored socks that she had made. So if you're not part of our Facebook group, you can go over there and look at some of the pictures. Lots of our people are posting over there. The Facebook group is Katrina Knits, and just ask to be a friend and I'll confirm you, and you can start adding pictures and things. So a lot of people that put pictures over there, I used to post them on the webs or on our podcast as well, but it seems kind of redundant to do that when you can just go over the Facebook page and see the original post with everything that they say about what they've posted. So, but for those of you who do not have Facebook, you can do what Bev did and just send them to my email, which is KatrinasCreations@yahoo.com. Send me pictures that way, and I'll put them on the podcast if you don't put them over on the Facebook page. So that way everybody gets to see everybody's projects, which I think is fun because it gives us each ideas. So I did do a little research with my at my work, where I work at a library, and I had seen Susan B. Anderson had just done this adorable little knitted sheep, and it's got this little knitted color work blanket on the back. It was really cute, and I was like, I wonder about making some little stuffed animals. I don't know if I'm going to or not, because I've got 11 grandchildren. I'd have to, if I make one for one, I've got to make them for all of them. I'd be doing, I don't know if I have enough scraps to do something like that, but I thought I'd show you some of the books that I ran across in my research. And this one is my favorite. It's called Little Knitted Creatures. It is a Leisure Arts publication. The designs are by Amy Gaines, and this one's my favorite out of the 3 books. They're probably the simplest patterns, but I just think they're the cutest. So I'm going to show you a couple of them. This is the little bunny, which I thought was cute, and I think there's a bunny tail in the back. Yes, there's the little bunny tail, and they did the bunny tail in pink. So that would be adorable for a little girl, little pink or blue tail, based on if it's a boy or girl. And then there's a little duck. Like I said, these are the simplest patterns of the 3 books that I got, but I think they're the cutest. And here is a little sheep, although I like my sheep from Kathy better, but this one's a cute little sheep. And then we have a hedgehog. You gotta love a hedgehog. I gotta love a hedgehog because we had hedgehogs. When my daughter was living at home, we had 2 pet hedgehogs that she was given by someone. They were named Urchin and Loofah. And it was funny, Loofah had like no personality whatsoever. She was just like a spiky blob. But Urchin had a personality and a half. He would give little nose touches. Now, if you're not sure, if you don't know what a hedgehog is, they're like a little miniature porcupine. They're about this big. So, but this one had a personality. He would stick your nose out and he would touch his nose to yours. He liked ravioli. He loved the cheese in the ravioli. He liked cottage cheese. He liked blueberry candy canes, and he liked bagels. Those were his favorite items. We used to let him run behind our sofa to collect all the dust bunnies, and then we would use tweezers and pick the dust bunnies off of his quills because he'd collect them. It was like sending Velcro behind your sofa. He would go running through, and he'd come out with all the dust bunnies stuck to him. So he was adorable. He knew which room was his where he slept. He would waddle down the hallway and look in each door until he would get to his room where his little cage was, and yeah, they roll up in little balls, like a spiky ball when they get scared or when they hear noise. That's like their defense mechanism. Except he didn't get scared. He was a party animal. He liked noise. If we turned on the vacuum cleaner, he got extremely excited and went running around his cage. He wouldn't roll into a ball for anything. So yeah, he was constantly busy. And it's funny because they're so spiky on the top. You can pet them as long as you pet them the direction the quills are going. You pet them the opposite way and you'll get the barbs in them. But their underside is like rabbit fur. It's extremely soft. And their noses are really soft too. So I used to sit there and pet his little nose, and he'd give little nose kisses. So yeah, anyway, hedgehog rant. So here's a little squirrel. And I'm not going to show all of these pictures. We would be here forever. But there is some cute ones in here. I like the little mouse. Cricket would like the little mouse. Cricket's my dog. Yeah, and then there's the ones that are on the cover. which are a little pig and a bunny, and I'm not quite sure what that's supposed to be. So that's the one book. Then there is this one. This is Knitted Woodland Creatures by Susie Johns. And here's what it looks like. And there's another hedgehog, which I thought was also adorable. And this one, I do like the little rabbit. It's a lop-eared rabbit. So I do think he's cute. Kind of looks like Thumper with floppy ears. And there's a snail. The snail is cute. Like I said, these are all knitted. I don't think any of them are crocheted. And here's their hedgehog is better. There's their hedgehog. So we have that book. And like I said, I'm not showing you all of the pictures. You can see I've marked quite a few that are adorable, but we don't want this podcast to go on forever while I show you cute little fuzzy animals. So this other one is Knit Your Own Zoo, and it is 24 animals, easy to follow patterns. It is by Sally Muir and Joanna Osborne. They also put out a book called Knit Your Own Dog and Knit Your Own Cat. So if you have a desire to do so, I guess you could do that. These are more zoo animals, which I wasn't that much into. There was only one that I thought was really, really cute, and that was the koala. Gotta love a koala bear. So those are the 3 books that I've checked out at the library. We are having a yarn giveaway. It is going to start today, which is March 10th, and it is going to run until April 5th. On the April 7th podcast, I will announce the winner. The yarn that I'm giving away is this one. If you liked my hitchhiker shawl, you will like this color because this is almost identical to my hitchhiker. This is Viking yarn. It's a Norwegian yarn. It is called Nordless. It is a superwash wool. It is 100 grams, 3.5 ounces. There are 350 meters or 385 yards. It is a fingering weight yarn. And the colorway is just a number. It's just 965, but it has a black in it. It has a purple. It has a green in it and like a maroon color. I don't know how well. There you go. That's a good. There, you can see it really well. Those are the colors in it. There, you can really see it well there too. So there is the yarn. That's the glare. There you go. There's the label. Now, how to enter this? Very simple. First off, it's a 3-prong entry. You get 1 entry per week. So it's going to run for 4 weeks. So you've got 4 potential entries. In order to enter, all you have to do, first off, you have to be a subscriber. So if you haven't already clicked that little red button down below, click the little red button. Part 2, give me a thumbs up. Don't do this. Do this. Give me a thumbs up. And part 3, leave me a question in the comments box. Now, normally I respond to all of the things that we chat back and forth with, but I'm not going to be responding to any of the questions because I'm going to put them together in a Ask Katrina segment sometime in April. So sort of like what we did with the vacation when my husband and I went on vacation, and then Dave and I answered questions together. I'm going to do sort of the same thing. So leave me a question down below in the comments. It could be about anything within reason. So it doesn't necessarily even have to be knitting related. Just so we get to know each other a little bit better. So again, in order to enter, you get 1 entry per week. It will run March 10th until April 5th. The winner will be announced on April 7th. It is open internationally. And again, be a subscriber, give me a thumbs up, and a comment down below asking me a question. So you're welcome to chat more than that. It's just only 1 entry is going to count for you for the week. So that is how you're going to enter. And that is it for today. And I hope you've enjoyed this podcast this week. And I will see you again next week. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Bye.